everyone. In this video, we are going to cover a demo of a lessor's risk submission. So go ahead and select lessor's risk only. Once you've clicked into here, you're going to see all the options for the different lines of business. So we can choose to do a package, which is a combination of general liability and property, or we can quote monoline GL, monoline property, or excess liability. So start with a completed accord, and the system will pre-fill as much information as possible, or you can choose to start manually, which I personally recommend because PathPoint is going to generate pre-filled forms for you upon submission. How to start, go ahead and continue to submission. And I'll jump over to this tab where I have the application pre-filled to make it move a little quicker. So we'll start by selecting our class of business. We have our habitational classes, apartments and dwellings, along with vacation rentals. And then you also have your commercial buildings. In this example, we are going to quote a single family dwelling, and I'll go ahead and hit next to move on to the next tab. General information is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to enter the named insured, entity type, mailing address, description, and then kind of your exactly what it sounds like, general information, have they been non-renewed, any losses to report, etc. Moving on to the eligibility tab. This is where we're going to collect a lot of the underwriting information for the general liability portion. Moving along to the property details tab is where we're going to enter the building characteristics. If you need to schedule multiple locations, you can do that very easily. Just select add building. And then if this is two buildings at the same location, you can leave this as location one. If it's the same named insured that owns two buildings at two completely different locations, we do want to keep those on the same policy, but then you would want to indicate that this is actually an entirely separate location where this building is located. You can move through the remaining sections here if there's any additional safeguards. For example, if they have central burglar alarms and central fire alarms, we can often remove the theft exclusion. So those are good to indicate if those exist. You can kind of broaden the coverage there. So generally speaking, if the building is more than 50 years old, our markets are going to be looking for complete updates to electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and the roof within the last 20 to 25 years, depending on the carrier. And so you can indicate that by leaving the original year built here. In this case, the building is more than 50 years old. So in order for me to get a quote back, I do need to indicate that all four of these systems have been updated within the last 20 years. Move on to the coverages section to indicate the building value. Something to note when calculating TIV, the total insured value, that is going to be inclusive of your building value, your any contents requested, and the business interruption value. So if Westchester's maximum TIV is 2.5 million, all three of these fields should total up to under 2.5 million. For VAVE, 3.3, depending on the market. And then we'll move over to the exposures tab. In this case, we are looking to understand how many dwellings are present. In this case, it's just the one single family dwelling. Again, if there were multiple locations or multiple buildings I would schedule, I might say there were 3 or 4 dwellings that this insured is looking to cover. If it was a commercial building, you would see square footage where we're looking for the square footage of the building. If it was apartments, we'd be looking for the number of units in that apartment. So just look for what value is indicated here, and that'll be your clue on what number to input. And then from here, we're essentially done. We enter in our requested effective dates. Try to keep this within 30 days. If you're looking to quote renewals or accounts further out, that's okay. But most of our markets will not provide quotes more than 30 to 45 days out. So you would want to submit it within 30 days. Once you get a quote back and you know that it's within appetite and you get a sense of the rate, if it's going to be competitive, then you can come back closer to the actual renewal date, come back to the same submission, just resubmit it to refresh it, and then you'll have a valid quote that you can bind within range of the effective date that you're looking for. And that you get a final chance to review the information in the application. If everything looks good, go ahead and submit it to all the available markets. That is essentially the lessor's risk demo.